They don't put it in the textbooks, but let me put it out there. This country survived its ugliest chapters because of Black grandmothers. Not politicians, not presidents, not even the preachers. It was women who had already buried children, who still found the strength to fight, so yours wouldn't be next. They weren't just caretakers, they were the first line of defense against American terror. In the thick of America's lynching era, from the 1880s to the 1940s, Black grandmothers weren't just witnesses, they were the backbone. While white mobs were still stringing up Black boys in broad daylight and calling it justice, grandmothers were doing the quiet work, collecting names, testifying to the press, sending letters to the NAACP, and shielding grandchildren from the trauma with nothing but bedtime stories and tight embraces. They weren't activists for clout, they were survivors. Women like Laura Nelson's mother, who tried to speak out after her daughter and grandson were lynched in Oklahoma in 1911. Or Ida B. Wells, who raised her siblings after her parents died, and whose anti-lynching crusade was deeply rooted in a kind of protective grandmother energy. The kind that says nobody's child will die unnoticed on my watch. Black grandmothers were the ones that were writing to Black newspapers when nobody else would publish the truth. They were hosting NAACP meetings in their kitchens. They were the moral memory keepers, telling grandbabies who got taken and why, even when the town wanted it forgotten. They wrote letters, sat back in pews, testified in courts. They organized church groups to raise money for funeral costs. They demanded investigations, preserved stories. They did all of this while working as maids, taking care of other people's children, and raising 3 generations under one roof. They were the quiet architects of resistance, the ones who made sure that trauma didn't swallow the entire lineage. The reason some of us even know now what happened in our families then is because a grandmother whispered it when it was dark and safe. The reason our communities didn't fall apart after the horror is because she refused to let it. The reason some names even got documented, the reason some cases ever made it to court, was because a grandmother somewhere refused to let her child become another rumor. They were never passive, they were never weak. They were the firewall between annihilation and survival. So the next time they say that Black women are angry or loud or strong, ask them what this country would have done if Black grandmothers weren't. Because when this nation looked the other way, it was Grandma who stared death in the face and didn't flinch.